clear charges. International community has on several occasions complained about gross human rights violations in the country. The U.S. Department of State has since slapped a blanket travel ban on Uganda government officials. Ugandans have also asked the president to condemn the attacks on journalists in line of duty, forgive opponents and release all political prisoners in that regard. We are awaiting for the State of the Nation address, but then we are also taking a look at some of the expectations of the people in Uganda. Unsustainable public debt and economic instability. The International Monetary Fund, yesterday said due to increased borrowing, the public debt for Uganda will rise to close to 50% of the GDP by June, and that this will increase financing costs. The Auditor General, Mr. John Mwanga, in the 2019-2020 report warned that the debt burden was becoming unsustainable and that increased borrowing will affect the future generations. So we'll need to know what plans President Museveni has to curtail the increased public debt stock in that regard. So the president has arrived and we are waiting to hear what he shall say in his State of the Nation address. And like I did hint before, we are just giving you some of the expectations from members of the public. Well, on the issue of corruption, the president has on several occasions rebuked the corrupt, but lip service has not stopped the vice. Over the years, Mr. Museveni has established bodies such as the State House Anti-Corruption Unit, the Inspectorate of Government, and invested a lot of money in the operations of the Auditor General and public procurement and disposal of assets to fight corruption. But despite the 2020 Transparency International Corruption Perception Index from the previous year's ranking showed that Uganda's lead by 5 places, can you imagine, indicating increase in corruption in public sector, Ugandans want the president to stop lip service and begin to bite. Meaning the president should stop caressing people who are corrupt. He needs to come out verifiably and strong enough to actually bite these individuals and push them out of government because they are doing a big disservice to his government. One of the biggest other issues that Ugandans want the president to tackle is the COVID-19 pandemic. Like I did hint before, we are grappling with 49,759 cases of COVID-19. Uganda recorded 1,083 cases yesterday, the highest number in a single day since the pandemic broke out in the country. The pandemic has greatly distressed the economy and to secure Uganda's future, as he promised during his re-election campaign last year, the president must explain how he intends to do this or deal with the current crisis that we are grappling with as a country. Uganda, it is known, has entered its second wave of the pandemic and hospitalizations have risen, yet vaccines are running out. The president should use today's address to explain how he intends to protect Ugandans from the pandemic. Some businesses are also struggling to stay afloat. Others have already closed and cut jobs. So what we do anticipate at this opportune moment is the State of the Nation address, starting with the national anthem. Let's take you back to Kololo ceremonial grounds and keep you there until the president actually starts deliberating on what he plans to do for this country. Listen in.
Honorable members, the President and the Speaker coming.
The anthems Prayers.
Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and just government of humanity, we beseech you to look upon with your abundant favor these your servants whom you have been pleased to call the performance of such important trust in this land. Let your blessing descend upon them here assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under the deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as promote your honor and glory and advance the good of those whose interests you have committed to their church. Amen.
Amen. Item number 3, proclamation by the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament.
Whereas Article 101 of the Constitution mandates His Excellency the President at the beginning of each session of Parliament to deliver to Parliament an address on the state of the nation, aware that the first session of the 11th Parliament commenced on the 24th day of May 2021, noting that it is expedient that the Parliament of Uganda receives the address of the President on the state of the nation. Now, therefore, in exercise of the powers conferred upon the Speaker by the Constitution, I hereby proclaim that the Parliament shall sit at Kololo Independence Ground today, Monday, 4th day of June 2021, at 14 hours, to receive the address of His Excellency the President on the state of the nation. And further, in exercise of the powers conferred upon the Speaker by the Constitution, the Parliament Powers and Privileges Act, Cap 258, and the Rules of Procedure of the Parliament of Uganda, it is hereby proclaimed and declared that the said Kololo Independence Ground to be precincts of Parliament for the aforementioned purposes. Given under my hand at Parliament House, Kampala, this 27th day of May 2021. Jacob Lokori Olanya, Speaker of Parliament.
Item number 4, communication from the Chair.
Your Excellency the President, His Lordship the Chief Justice, the Right Honourable Deputy Speaker, the outgoing Right Honourable Prime Minister and the Leader of Government Business, the Leader of the Opposition in Parliament, Members of Parliament, outgoing Honourable Ministers, the Dean of Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to this sitting today. Today is the state opening of the first session of the 11th Parliament of Uganda, and in consonance with Article 101 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency the President will deliver his address on the state of the nation. The State of the Nation address is a constitutional obligation and a yearly tradition wherein the President, the Chief Executive of the country, reports on the status of the country and unveils the government's agenda and legislative plan for the coming year. This is the maiden State of the Nation address in this new 5-term of government 2021-2026. I congratulate you, Mr. President, upon your re-election. I also once again congratulate all you members upon your election to the legislature. Society has entrusted you with the responsibility to lead, and as such, we ought to be responsive. We ought to be responsive to their aspirations. It is this that will enable us to realize our vision of being a people-centered parliament. Remember, society watches all the time. I pay tribute to our predecessors, the 10th Parliament, for their successes and milestones, and reiterate that as we embark on the first session of the 11th Parliament, we should build upon the achievements of the 10th Parliament and those that came before. In a special way, I commend my predecessor, the Speaker of the 10th Parliament, Honorable Rebecca Litwala Kadaga, for the accomplishments of the legislature during our tenure. The 11th Parliament has a foundation to build upon. Societal transformation is an incremental process where responsibility holders play their roles at various stages and points in time. I urge you members to play your role effectively and diligently as our solemn contribution to a better Uganda. Upon its constitution, the Business Committee will draw up a parliamentary calendar of the first session of the 11th Parliament. The parliamentary calendar is a schedule of the various planned events or activities of the legislature. This calendar will enable the work plans of committees and the schedule of the House. I urge you to abide by the parliamentary calendar to enable better planning, orderliness, and execution of legislative business. At the end of the 10th Parliament, there were items of business that were not concluded. Rule 235 of the Rules of Procedure governs the lapse of reinstatement of parliamentary business upon dissolution of the House, and it provides as follows. 1. A bill, petition, motion, or other business before the House or a committee during a term of Parliament lapses upon dissolution of Parliament. 2. Notwithstanding Sub-Rule 1, a bill, petition, motion, or other business before the House or any of its committees may be reinstated in the next Parliament by a resolution of Parliament. Honourable members, this is the second sitting of the House, the first one having been the election of the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker. Ordinarily, a motion should have been moved during this sitting to reinstate business that lapsed with the 10th Parliament, in line with Rule 203, 235-2 of the Rules of Procedure. However, given the nature of today's sitting, this motion will be moved at an appropriate future sitting. In the coming weeks, parliamentary committees will be duly constituted. From the onset, I urge them to adopt efficient and effective working methods that mitigate resource wastage and optimize time without jeopardizing the quality of output and outcomes. The responsiveness, efficiency, effectiveness of the House is a mirror image of the efficiency of the committees. Honourable members, as the 11th Parliament gains traction, I implore you to line up to desired levels of responsibility, efficiency, and effectiveness expected of us, members of Parliament. This will require sanitizing ourselves of the known pitfalls that usually impede the work of Parliament, notably endemic absenteeism, time wastage, delays by the executive to introduce business as laid out in the government's legislative agenda, and inadequate adherence to the rules. This causes even delays of the business, even those before the House already, especially when the delay is with Parliament. To change this, I honestly urge you to embrace and practice the following. 1. Always be time conscious. Time is a unique, non-renewable resource that we need to optimize in our day-to-day work. I urge you to always be punctual for parliamentary business. Always ensure that you turn up in time for committee and house businesses and any other parliamentary work that you may be called upon to take part in. This will aid the timeliness of our deliveries as a legislature. 2, endeavor to always attend to parliamentary business and dedicate yourself to the timely and effective execution of your tasks in both committees and in the House. 3, respect and abide by the rules of procedure to minimize disruptions and ensure efficiency and effectiveness in the discharge of legislative business. Let us reduce on the procedural debates and adopt more substantive debates to do the work of the people of this country. As the nation awaits the constitution of the cabinet, in line with Article 113 and 114 of the Constitution, I with foresight advise those that will comprise the front bench to embrace the following. 1, ensure timely introduction of government business in the House. Today, His Excellency the President will spell out government's legislative agenda for the year ahead. The relevant ministry bear the responsibility for realization of this legislative agenda by tabling the required bills in time for timely processing by the House. Given the complementarity of the arms of government, any delays by one arm occasions delays in another. Therefore, collectively, we need to be more responsive, efficient, and effective. Always avail yourselves for House business. Rule 50 of our Rules of Procedure requires ministers to attend sittings of the House to respond to questions asked of them. Your regular presence in the House will go a long way in aiding the timely accomplishment of House business. I also call upon the already designated whips in this House and those that will be designated to effectively play their role as envisaged in Rule 15 of the Rules of Procedure. Whips are essential in ensuring participation of their party members in parliamentary business. I urge whips to coordinate among themselves in the discharge of their functions. The advent of the first session of 11th Parliament coincides with the reported resurgence of the COVID-19 pandemic. This portends significant implications on the entire country and will invariably impinge on our methods of work as the representatives of the people. I urge you all to adhere to the established standard operating procedures and urge the public to do the same. Honourable members, on the 27th April 2021, one of Uganda's 9 representatives of the East African Legislative Assembly, Honourable Matthias Kasamba, passed on. His demise left a vacancy in Uganda's representation to Iyala. You will recall that the deceased was elected to the East African Legislative Assembly on the 28th February 2017 on the National Resistance Movement party ticket and assumed office on the 18th December 2017. Pursuant to Section 8(1) of the East African Legislative Assembly Elections Act 2021, the Speaker of the East African Legislative Assembly notified the Speaker of the Parliament of Uganda on the 18th May 2021 of a vacancy in the East African Legislative Assembly. Therefore, in line with Section 8(2) of the East African Legislative Assembly Elections Act 2011, upon notification of the vacancy, a by-election must be held by this Parliament within 90 days from the 18th day of May 2021. Given that Honorable Matthias Gasamba was elected to the East African Legislative Assembly on the NRM party ticket and in accordance with the Treaty for the Establishment of the East African Community and Appendix B of our Rules of Procedure, the vacancy will be filled by the NRM party to which the deceased member belongs. I accordingly instruct the clerk to Parliament to commence the process of filling the vacancies. Honorable members, we all know that this last Monday, events happened in this place that were very disturbing. An attempt was made on the life of one of our own, and in that incident, his young daughter was killed, 27-year-old PhD graduate, and his driver, Haruna. That attempt was made on the life of the Honorable General Katumba Wamala. We thank God that he survived and is recovering very, very well. Honorable members, for those who have demised, I would ask that we rise and observe a moment of silence.
May the deceased rest in eternal peace.
Finally, honorable members, as we embark on today's sitting, I urge members to take cognizance of Rule 10 of the Rules of Procedure, and specifically Sub-Rule 4A, which stipulates that while making a statement in this House, the President shall be heard in silence, and his address shall not be followed by any comment or question. Time will be allotted at a later time and date to exhaustively debate the President's State of the Nation address. Civility demands that we listen to those, more especially those we disagree with. That gives us the opportunity in the debates that will ensue later to respond to the issues that would have been raised by the President, in case you have some contrary view to what the President could have stated. But today is not that day. Let's listen to the President in silence. You can cheer or stamp your feet if the points are good, and I'm sure they will be good. So don't be shy to hit your foot on the ground hard to appreciate the statement from the President. I say all this for God and my country.
Item number 5, invitation by the Right Honourable Speaker to His Excellency the President to deliver the State of the Nation address in accordance with Article 101(1) of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda.
Your Excellency the President, Article 101(1) of the Constitution mandates you on a day like this to come and give this country the State of the Nation address. It's my single honor to invite you now to do that.
The Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honourable Jacob Olanya, the Right Honourable Deputy Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honourable Anita Among, correction there, it should be His Lordship the Chief Justice. He should be the one to follow in protocol. His Lordship the Chief Justice, the Honorable Owinyi-Doro, the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, Right Honorable Anita Among, the Right Honorable Secretary General of the NRM, Kaswera Mumba, the Right Honorable Leader of the Opposition, the Honorable Members of Parliament, members of the Diplomat Corps, ladies and gentlemen. In fulfillment of the constitutional requirement under Article 101, Clause 1 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, I am here to deliver the State of the Nation Address 2021. Again, I congratulate the honorable members of Parliament on your election on the 14th of January 2021 and some of the special groups later. Pastor Kayanja told me that 14th of January is a special day in the Bible. I didn't know. I was told by Pastor Kayanja. Later on, I checked, and I found that indeed it is the day when, in the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, verse 5, it says, in quotes, on the 14th day of the first month evening shall be a holy convocation, a feast of the Lord's Passover. End of quotes. The Electoral Commission, in selecting that date, must have been guided by God. As I said on my inauguration, and on a number of other occasions, at this point in the history of our country, having restored the small enclave modern economy of 1971 that had been destroyed by Idi Amin in the 1970s, having greatly expanded it from US dollars 1.3 billion in 1986 to now US dollars 40 billion. We have a number of points that we need to concentrate on in order to transform Uganda into a middle-income country on the road to becoming a first-world country. However, before we talk of our medium and long-term strategic plans, I need to first remind the country about the really interesting and challenging 2020, pronounced as 2020 by some of the Bazukuru and some other interesting Ugandans. There are other interesting Ugandans who also call it 2020. Came with locusts, floods, the rising levels of the lakes, landslides, floating islands, etc. Soon after, Corona came in, starting with March 2020. I'm happy to report to you what everybody knows. Uganda did not only manage to cope with these challenges, but also the economy managed a modest expansion of 3% for the financial year 2019-2020, and will manage another small expansion of 3.3% for the financial year of 2020-2021. So, if you check globally, many countries achieved minus rates of growth. But here, in spite of all these multiple issues, the economy has been able to expand, but at a lower speed. If it had not been for Corona, the economy was projected to grow by 6.3% and 6.2% in the financial years 2019, 2020, and 2020, 2021, respectively. We defeated the locusts and coped with all the other problems. You remember they were saying that locusts were going to finish all the food. But I don't think those locusts were given a chance to eat much food, because we killed them. And I want to salute the UPDF for doing that. In 1964, on the 14th of May, Lake Victoria set a record when its water level reached 13.41 meters at Jinja. For the first time since records started being kept in 1904. On the 14th of May 1964, Lake Victoria, measured at Jinja, reached the highest level at 13.41 meters. This was the highest since records were started being kept in 1904. Indeed, right from 1961, there had been a lot of floods. My family being nomadic at that time my family was still nomadic. We were not as settled as we are now. I remember the inconvenience of the flooded plains of Kashari. That time, the plains, what are called Empita, in one of those dialects, of Lyonza, Kachigonjo, Ruera, Katebe, Nyakshara, etc. were all flooded for much of that time. And that was the time transport on the lake disappeared. That was the time Butiaba, the port, was flooded, Bukakata was flooded, Namasare was flooded. That's when lake transport stopped because of the flooding of the landing sites. It's only recently that we have restored some of that lake transport. So that was 1964. However, on the 19th of May, 2020, the lake achieved a record higher than that of 1964. It measured 13.49 meters. That was last year on the 19th of May. The lake, not being satisfied with that record, on the 14th, 15th, and 19th of May, just recently, 2021, it reached the highest level point, the highest point ever of 13.50 meters. On the 31st of May, it had slightly reduced to 13.42 meters. This is all in spite of us releasing much more water at Jinja than ever before. Because that water is controlled at Jinja, that dam. That dam helps us to control the water. Normally, we release 800 to 1,200 cubic meters of water per second. 800 to 1,200 cubic meters of water per second. Today, however, we are releasing 2,400 cubic meters per second. If we did not release a lot of water, much of the lake shore would be flooded. In 1964, they could only release a maximum of 1,300 cubic meters per second. Today, however, because we built new outlets at Jinja, we can release up to 3,000 cubic meters per second. So the worry which people had that the dams, the power dams will be flooded cannot happen, because we are able to release a lot of water than they were able to do in 1964. That is how we have been able to cope with this lake that has been so high and for so long. Because you can see, for the whole of last year, the lake has been above the 1964 record of 13.41 meters at Jinja. All this time it has been higher than that. In addition to dealing with the locusts, the rising lakes levels, the landslides, the floods, we are to deal with the deadly phenomenon of the corona pandemic. On account of the tough measures we took quite early, we avoided the sort of catastrophe we saw in other countries. However, on account of the widespread reckless behavior, we are now entering a new phase with a wider spectrum of variants of the virus that may be more dangerous. Up to now, 49,761 people have been infected cumulatively to date. This was up to the 1st of June. 46,150 of these have recovered. Therefore, many people recover from corona if they are well treated and in time. However, the coronavirus is very dangerous because it targets epithelial cells. These are type of cells in our bodies called epithelial cells, which line and create protective barriers in many organs of the human being, including the lungs, the heart, blood vessels, kidneys, liver, and the digestive tract. This virus can cause the damage of those organs even if the patient recovers. Fortunately, as you can see, many Ugandans have recovered completely and with no damage that is permanent to their body systems. Nevertheless, the best is to avoid this disease until one is fully vaccinated, and we maintain the SOPs until the pandemic in the world is defeated. Really, this is the wisest thing to do. With the vaccination, we recently hit a snag when, on account of the very bad situation that developed in India, that country stopped the fresh exports of the vaccine. My advice to the countries that are producing vaccines now is to be careful with this point. I had the same problem with sanitizers here, as I said the other day. Being big waragi producers, when the pandemic started, the only factory that was making sanitizers in East Africa was Saraya Manufacturing Uganda Limited in Jinja. So there are some advantages in having a lot of waragi. I don't like drinking, but this time I appreciated the drunkards. In the cabinet, while discussing this point, Somebody suggested that we should stop the export of the sanitizers because we needed them badly here in Uganda. As a Christian and as a traditional Munyankore, I could not accept that logic. It is called okuhemuka, to let down friends, colleagues, partners, anybody that trusted in your solidarity, by saying that because you are in great need, those who depended on you, on your solidarity, can go to hell. A real Munyankore can never do that, except those who are eating pigs in Kampala. If you see those Munyankore who are eating pigs, maybe they may do this. But a real Munyankore cannot say, because I have a problem, you go to hell. No. You suffer with your friend. If you don't, it is a serious offense in the code of conduct of the Munyankore, and it is called okuhemuka. Apart from the moral issues involved, there is also the issue of strategy. You should always remember that there is a tomorrow. If you let me down today, when I'm in such a great need as life and death for my people, just like you also have the same crisis, how will I ever depend on your partnership in the future? It seriously undermines international partnership. What I decided in the case of the sanitizers was to advise the Honorable Jenna Cheng to put aside 40% of the production for Uganda and share the 60% with other East Africans. I could not kuhunga to abandon upon fraternal peoples and partners by upon them, let them down, just because I am in acute need myself. I share the hardships with my fraternal people or partners. Nevertheless, the egocentrism in the world is also good for us, the patriots and Pan-Africanists in Africa. It makes it much easier to arouse even the most indifferent who are busy dancing and taking alcohol, that Africa must take care of itself. I salute our scientists who have developed the diagnostics, have been working on the therapeutics, and also the vaccine. 2 of our diagnostics are ready for manufacturing, and we're in the process of putting up the factory to mass manufacture. The therapeutic has been tried in 53 patients, and we need a minimum of 124. Up to now, results are good. This therapeutic, this medicine, in the month of March, February, a bit of May, April, we had a problem. We didn't have patients. There were no corona patients, very few. So we didn't have enough numbers. The authorities, the research authorities say, for us to say the medicine works, we must try it in 124 people. Up to now, we have got up to 53 patients. Up to now, results are good. With the vaccine, we have got to phase 4 out of 9 phases. At this stage, I need to renew my demand, but this time we renew it as an order that should be implemented. Many years ago, I proposed that government scientists must start with shillings 4 million when they join the public service as a pay per month. The top scientists in the research institution should be earning 15 million shillings, like professors in public universities. This is because we want to retain the large number of scientists we have trained so that they solve our needs the needs of health, nutrition, infrastructure, but also benefit from the pathogenic economy. Pathogenic economy, the economy of diseases. There is business in diseases. Other people in the world have been making money from our sicknesses. We shall earn more money from the pathogenic economy than from coffee. Therefore, paying our scientists well is not a favor to them. It is first and foremost in the enlightened self-interest of the country. All these are temporary phenomena: locusts, floods, rising water of the lakes, landslides, corona, etc. We are coping with them. But our real historical task is to cause socio-economic transformation of our society. This society must go from its pre-capitalist, pre-industrial way of life to a middle-class, skilled working-class society. When the French Revolution took place in 1789, the French society, which I suspect was a microcosm of the wider European societies, was a four-class society: feudalist, capitalist, called bourgeoisie, working class, also called proletariat, and peasant. At that time, the society in Uganda was a three-class society: feudalists, artisans, and peasants. Today, the European societies are two classes ones. These two classes being the middle class, being sustained by profits from the businesses, and the skilled working class, the proletariat, who depend on good salaries to sustain them, plus a welfare system when they are out of work. So Europe has undergone a social metamorphosis, has changed, like the process which we know in biology, where the insects change form. No more peasants in Europe. If you go to Europe and you are looking for peasants, you will not find any. No more feudalists in Europe. Here in Africa, so many actors are engaged in the peasant conservation and also some elements of feudalism. It is this incomplete metamorphosis of society that I've been addressing ever since 1986, when we got a chance to run the country, and even before, when we were still in the student movement. Our appeal is for everybody to join the money economy and get out of Okora Echida Chonka. You remember those Bagwere? Teach me each keken, Akoru, Akoik Bon in Ateso, Rugubara, Azi, Ngaza, Aleni. We must get out of that problem. As you have seen, even the modest walking up of sections of our people from Kulambara, Ninomatek, even using old methods, generated a lot of production. Some of the increased production, fortunately, has got big international demand. Coffee falls into this category. We have gone from 3 million bags to 7 million bags. Fortunately, the global demand is able to take all the coffee, because the global coffee demand is 166.3 million 60 kilogram bags. The global demand for milk products is 906 billion liters, valued at US dollars 458 billion. Therefore, our present production of 2.6 billion liters of milk can enter the global market provided we solve the problem of cattle diseases such as foot and mouth, CBPP, anthrax, etc., and of course, also offer competitive prices. Therefore, the Banyankore I once met at Rwachitura, clamoring for high milk prices, need to know more about this global competition for market with other countries, such as New Zealand, Holland, etc. Our people need to know that if we are to compete for global markets, our products must be good quality, must be safe, but also cheaper than what other countries are offering. So one day I attended a meeting at Rwachitura with the Banyankore there. I said, oh, we want more money for milk. Okay. But if your milk becomes too expensive, how will it compete in London and Beijing and New Delhi and New York with milk from other countries? So we need to wake up our people that we are struggling in a global environment. The global demand for maize and maize products is 852 million metric tons, valued at $153 billion. Therefore, our production of 5 million tons of maize can be absorbed provided we solve the problem of quality, getting rid of the shameful aflatoxins caused by people who mishandle food in harvesting. Why do you mishandle people's food? Wait for the maize to dry properly on the chikonko. Chikonko is the Nyankore word for maize stalk, the maize stalk. When you harvest it, put it on canvas, in tundubare, or cemented drying ground, etc. The maize will dry properly and simply, and there will be no aflatoxins. The Iranians came here and they wanted to buy all our maize. Their annual demand is 9.4 million tons. The Iranians wanted to buy all our maize because we have got very good relations with them. They import 7 million tons. The problem was ourselves. Negligence in handling food we want to sell to people. Are we Barogo? Barogo, the one who gives something bad to somebody to eat. Are we to sell good products to people or to sell bad things to people? How can it be that we want to sell bad things to people? Because we shall be turned into as if we are Barogo, like the poisoners of people. Algeria imports 300 billion tons of powdered milk per annum. To produce this milk powder, you need, I don't know whether this figure is correct. It was put in by my people. I need to check it. To produce this milk powder, they say you need 2.7 trillion liters of milk. So the powdered milk Algeria consumes would finish off all this milk here we are talking about. Nigeria, but I'm not sure about these people's figures. With many, but anyway, the point is that Algeria and Nigeria consume a lot of powdered milk, and to produce powdered milk, you need a lot of liquid milk. And we produce a lot of powdered milk here. So these people could buy this milk. With many of Uganda's products, there is a global market, but we must solve the issues of safety. I will not talk of quality because our agricultural products are the best quality in the world. In terms of quality, they are the best. When we had this inauguration here, I met delegations at Munyonyo. And as part of my diplomatic protocol, I would have my menvu, the kabaragara, the small sweet banana, and bogoya. People like those products. They like bogoya. They like this small sweet banana, kabaragara. They like the pineapple of Uganda is among the best. The millet, the milk, they are the best quality. The problem is the mishandling by our producers who are not well sensitized. I've been telling the world what you know, the huge surpluses of so many products as a consequence of the limited waking up of sections of our people. Only a very small number of people have woken up to produce for the market. Yet, this is a mere ndozo. Ndozo is when you jaribu, ini jaribu tu, to make people taste. If you take beef, dairy sector for instance, the beef and dairy sector for instance, the big increase in the milk production is in spite of still using the free-range method. We are still using free-range, cows roaming around, where cattle are sent to the bush or farm to graze when the farm is bush cleared. In this method, the stocking ratio is only 1.5 cattle per acre per annum. So in a square mile, you will have like 300 cows in a square mile. Some years ago, I went to Israel and saw 1,000 Frisian cows in 1 acre. I was with Mama here. We saw those cows, 1,000 Frisians, just being fed in 1 acre. Recently, I met somebody from the UAE, from the United Arab Emirates, who told me that their company has a herd of 18,000 heads of cattle in 250 acres. Here, in the whole square mile, we find we have got just 300 cows. We should systematically, therefore, shift to zero grazing. If you talk to Dr. Demoon, the Commissioner of Veterinary, she will tell you that when you grow the grass in the farm and you cut it and you feed the cows zero grazing instead of them going to feed, you'll be able to look after 8 Frisian cows in 1 acre in a year. So if you have got 10 acres, you can actually look after 80 cows in a year, Frisians. So therefore, with our 18 million heads of cattle, 1/3 of which would be milking at any one time, each giving 20 liters, the total production would be 44 billion liters of milk in a year. The same for bananas. While the rural farmers have been producing 5 tons of bananas per hectare per year, Dr. Muranga at Nyarzinga in Bushenyi has got 53 tons per hectare per annum. And I hear that in Brazil, they go up to 80 tons per hectare per annum. This increased production is partly due to irrigation, fertilizers, etc. This is why, in my inauguration speech, I emphasized the question of the market for products. For Ugandan products, if the Ugandans wake up, all of them. Again, to remind everybody, the answers are 4 on the issue of the market. The internal market of Uganda, boosted by increased purchasing power, when all homesteads join the money economy by producing for the stomach, but also for producing for the pocket. Secondly, the East African market through the East African community. Thirdly, the African market through the continental free trade area. And fourthly, the global market through the trade access agreements with like AGOA, the Chinese preferential access market, the European Union, where they allow everything but arms, and also access to other markets on the merit of the quality and pricing of our products. Once all the leaders are clear on these points, we shall more easily be able to implement the guidelines we have put out for the whole country. Who is to produce low-value crops but on a large scale, such as sugarcane, cotton, maize, tobacco, etc., and who is to produce high-value products on a smaller scale, such as coffee, milk, fruits, poultry, piggery, horticulture, and who should do both. We should really, if you want to help our people, this parliament, please. We had a long discussion in Kyankwanzi with the new MPs. There's nothing we didn't discuss. I hope the way forward is clear. The difference between extensive agriculture, where you produce low-value crops but on a big scale, and intensive agriculture, where you use smaller land but you produce high-value crops. If we all be clear on that, the future is bright. Let all the leaders stop confusing people by sending contradictory or divergent messages. The NRM message ever since 1966 has been all homesteads to join the money economy using Echibaro, Chura, Otita, Aymar, profitability assessment to guide their enterprise selection. Prices of products are determined by the market, not by government, unless we provide subsidies which we cannot afford and few have sustainable afforded in the world. Moreover, our products must be safe for consumption, good quality, and competitive prices. And the markets are 4: internal, East African, African, and global. The colonial approach is no longer possible, where they say you produce the coffee and cotton, we guarantee to buy them at guaranteed prices. We don't have time here to go into that, but that was a colonial approach for a narrow range of products, just 2 or 3. But if you are going to have 20, 30 products, how will you provide subsidy for them? The world of production is now for competition, and it can be done. With this clear vision, I strongly urge our people to join the 4 sectors: commercial agriculture, industries, services, and ICT. With commercial agriculture, we are emphasizing the parish model. At the parish, you are able to know all the homesteads. Because when you are sub-county constituency is too far, you may not know all the homesteads. For instance, I know that in Ndangaro parish, in Rubirizi, is 3,330 homesteads. Ndangaro parish is that parish which I visited some time ago, when the homesteads were still 2,500. and they were all democratically without money, except one man, Kateva, who had 7 pigs. And when I asked those people, I said, how did Kateva get 7 pigs? They said, even his father was a rich man. Now, you hear that the homesteads in Dangaro Parish are now 3,330. They have increased. Ruengaju is in Kabarore. The homesteads are 3,196. But these ones are doing very well. The ones of Ruengaju are a model. They listen to our advice and they are doing very well. Maware Parish, here in Ruero, where my model farm of Kaumu is, there are 1,480 homesteads. So when you are at the parish model, you are able to know how many homesteads. You will be able to know who has woken up and who is still asleep. Our aim is to make all the homesteads to wake up. On the side of industries, we shall continue to deal with the issue of costs of manufacturing in Uganda. The cost pushers are 3. The cost of money, interest rates of the exploitative commercial banks. These commercial banks are really suckers. But you see, the cost of transport to Mombasa, Dar es Salaam, Juba, Kigali, Congo, Ethiopia, etc. The cost of electricity. The other cost would be the cost of labor. However, that is still low. It is not a problem yet, the cost of labor. Ugandans should be informed that with our fraternal states of East Africa, we are handling the issue of transport costs. By road, a 20-foot container costs US dollars 1,900, and a 40-foot container costs US dollars 3,200 to Mombasa, and vice versa by road. Yet by rail, it is $1,400 for a 20-foot container. So instead of 1,900 road, you save $500. It is 1,400 by rail. And for the 40-foot container, it is 1,900 instead of 3,200. So you save almost half of that money. So hence, in addition to our long-term goal of building a modern standard gauge railway, we are together with Kenya. We are continuing with our plan to build the modern standard gauge high-speed railway. But at the same time with Kenya, we are rehabilitating the meter gauge railway, the old railway, for immediate use. After General Katumba and Sam Kutesa were very much involved in this one here. The meter gauge railway is the old railway. When repaired, its cost of transport would be much lower than the road transport. On the cost of money, we are continuing to fund UDB so that it can give loans for manufacturing, agriculture, services, some of the services, tourism, medical, and ICT, at no more than 12%. And the more they lend, the lower the interest rates will become. The cost of electricity is distorted by the mistakes committed by some of our actors without my knowledge, even when I was heading the government. Especially the mistakes of Bujagari and Umeme add 55.3% to the cost of electricity per unit. When you see you are paying high electricity bill, 55.3% is caused by Bujagari and Umeme. Otherwise, the cost of power from Chira is US dollars 1.19 per unit, $1.1 cents, American cents. Narvare, 1.1 cents. Isimba, 4.1. Karuma, 4.9. But Bujagari, 8.3 cents per unit. Bujagari at one time was US cents, 13.8 per unit. So we had to struggle until we brought it down to 8. We shall see how to get out of this mistake. One solution that I've already ordered for industrial parks is to supply power direct from some of the government dams to the parks without going through the Umeme line, going straight. I will not be deflected from that. The services sector, tourism, hotels, banking, music, sports, professional service, etc., we are moving very well until Corona came in. As I said above, the answer for Corona, apart from the preventive measures we continue to take, are the vaccines and the therapeutics. Above, I talked about Kemuka, letting down partners by our partners. We are continuing to talk with India, the USA for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, China, and Cuba. I'm sure we shall succeed with some of them. With the therapeutics, one of our products has been tried, as I said, among 53 patients, and 43 of them have fully recovered, while the others are still on treatment. We target to reach 124 patients before we are sure that this medicine treats Corona-19 patients. On the side of the vaccine, as I said, we are moving very well, only that we were delayed with the perception that Africa is not supposed to manufacture vaccines, but was only supposed to buy from others and also work as foot soldiers in doing field research for others to develop and own vaccines. Like the vaccine for Ebola, much of the work was done by people here. But I hear that somebody made the Ebola vaccine, yet Ebola was here, was our disease. Why do you know somebody to take your disease? I have been having some discussion with Professor Ponciano, the man of the virus. Please, I don't want to continue like this. Ebola is our disease. If it is my disease, I must benefit from it. How does somebody come and develop a vaccine? You are here. What are you doing? I salute the few outsiders that help. We have got a few outsiders who helped us. I will give you the whole story at some stage. I don't want to give secrets now. I'm sure God has created space for them in heaven for their Christian-like actions of sharing with other children of God. So the few outsiders who helped us with the vaccine, God will reward them. I pray for them. Making a vaccine in Ekutembura. Ekutembura is the word for when you go to make a fresh garden in the bush. Starting a new garden from the bush involves 9 or 8 phases if WHO allows you to skip one phase. Our researchers are now entering stage 4. I congratulate them. We hope to get to stage 8 by November 2021. I can assure Uganda that by the end of 2021, we shall no longer be waiting for outsiders to rescue us from a chorezo, from mass death. We just here die until foreigners come, Bambi, Africans are dying, let's help them. It's really not, I don't want to be part of such a group. By controlling corona, our services will resurrect. Before the corona, we were earning 1.5 billion from tourism alone. Since some decades ago, I've been urging our people in the ICT sector to take advantage of the BPO business in the world. Since many of our children speak Kampala parents English, you know, the twin and the other one, they can, through the internet, do jobs for companies in the USA, Canada, etc., such as call center services for utilities, hospitals, auditing accounts from here and be paid. India is earning US dollars 191 billion per year from this business of BPOs and employing 1.1 million young people. The ICT has been unserious in relation to this sector. Therefore, again, honorable members of parliament, the four sectors are commercial agriculture, industries, services, and ICT. Given the correct policies of the NRM right from 1986, in spite of obstacles erected by those who do not understand our strategy, the economy has grown, as I said at the beginning of this speech, from US dollars 1.3 billion to US dollars 40 billion. That is 31 times bigger. The economy now is 31 times bigger than it was in 1986. This is if you use the foreign exchange method. If you use the PPP method, the purchasing power parity method, it is US dollars 114 billion. By 2026, the economy is estimated to be US dollars 69 billion if you use the foreign exchange method, or 193 billion by the PPP method. I am, however, nor have I ever been satisfied by this level of performance. Some companies in the USA have annual turnovers of US dollars in billions. You can take examples of the following as indicated in the table. There's one company in the US called Walmart. It's a retail company. Its business turnover each year is 560 billion. 560 billion, Walmart. Here we are talking economy of the whole country, 40 billion. A company in the US is 560 billion. Another company called Amazon, 387 billion. This Walmart is employing 2.2 million people, and Amazon is employing 1.2 million people. Another one called Apple, 275 billion. CVC Health, another healthcare group, 270 billion. ExxonMobil Petroleum, 265 billion. United Health Group, healthcare, 257 billion. Berkshire Hathaway, a conglomerate, I don't know what that one is, $255 billion. McKesson Corporation, healthcare, $215 billion. Amerisource, Bergen, pharmaceutical industry, $190 billion. These are $190 billion. So, for us to sit here, how and why should a company have a size of business that is bigger than the economy of a whole country? The combined GDP of East Africa is $440 billion. The whole of East Africa, $440 billion. One company in the US called Walmart, $560 billion. You have seen how some of the individual companies have business sizes comparable to the combined economies of the whole of East Africa. Hence, in the medium term, we must aim at the size of the economy of at least $300 billion by foreign exchange method. By 2026, Uganda's population will be 48 million people. If each person is earning $3,000, each person per head is earning, or people are earning, for the children will not be earning, but their parents can earn for them. Earning US $3,000 per year, that would be $144 billion. This will just be people's incomes without including infrastructure. Yet, US $3,000 per person per year translates to shillings 10.8 million per person per year. And for a household of 5, this would translate to Uganda shillings 54 million per year. If each person was earning $3,000 in Uganda shillings for a household of 5, it will translate to 54 million shillings per year. Some of our households, like if you take the ones of Ruengaju, the one in near Fort Portal, Mr. Nyakana and his group, using 1 acre, are already earning shillings 240 million. Those who are at Kyenkwanzi, the MPs, the new MPs, I brought Mr. Nyakana, and he testified. $240 million is $67,000 per year, per household. And if you divide by 5, assuming the household has got 5 people, that comes to $13,000 per person per year. So this is achievable. This is achievable because some of our people have already achieved it. Even the people in the cattle corridor, the ones of milk, they have achieved it. I therefore do not accept the minimalist approach by the Minister of Finance, where the people of Uganda generate wealth that is smaller than the businesses of individual companies in other parts of the world. We shall earn more from coffee and its products, from milk, from fish, especially enuni, the fish maw. The plan which some of our people have, which they have presented to us, is that out of enuni alone, Uganda can get around US $156 billion per year, bigger than what Saudi Arabia earns from oil in a year. I will be presenting a plan on this, how we can transform fishing into a gold mine, bigger than oil. To achieve these aims, we must defeat corruption and disorientation, and we shall defeat them. Corruption has become a real enemy. It starts in the Ministry of Finance, where projects are designed with supernumerary elements, extras. They make a project, but they add in things which are not there, which shouldn't be there. These bloated projects go to ministries, like the Ministry of Water and so on. Then to the committees of parliament. You watch out. You watch out. Committees of parliament. Then to the Auditor General, where there is collusion all the way, and there are agents along the way. Each one getting Njauro. I have the story now. I have the story, you will see. You will see. That's how I moved on the Uganda Airlines. They thought they were very smart, but they will find out what sort of people Bayekera are. What the corrupt fraternity did not factor in their chibaro of corruption and criminality was the large number of the young people the NRM has trained over the years. Many of them coming from the middle class, where they do not have the pressure of home poverty. See, we are beginning to have now young Ugandans who are from the rich families. This is a structural change, because these are children who don't have pressure of poverty from home. And you will see how they will help us to fight this corruption. I've been discussing with my children who are now senior adults. They are no longer children. They don't want me to say their age, but who are now senior adults, the timeliness of creating DRA, Descendants Resistance Army 1, to take forward the work of the original NRA of their parents. This fraternity recently recommended to me one of their group. When I talked to her about a certain job, her answer was, "No, Mzee, that is not my passion." As they speak in their exotic accent. These are people who work for passion, not for money. Against resistance, I put one of them, Irene Kagwa, to manage Uganda Communication Commission. When I was appointing that girl, I was, no, that one is young, he's not experienced. Although some of these other have problems, but they are political. No, I said, no. If you are corrupt, you are not a political asset. A corrupt person is not a political asset. It's a political liability. I put one of them, Ms. Irene Kagwa, to manage Uganda Communications Commission. She's doing a commendable and clean job from the little I hear. The young passionists are liberating the Uganda Airlines. The resistance movement in the Uganda Airlines was by these young passionist people there. It is easy for the NRM to defeat corruption. With the disorientation, I want to appeal to the NRM MPs to grasp our strategy of everybody joining the money economy with the Chibaro, as we agreed at Kyenkwanzi recently. The target of all these efforts is to ensure two things: prosperity of our people by helping them to create wealth for themselves as well as jobs for themselves and others, and also ensuring security of our country. To achieve this, we must ensure the socio-economic transformation of our society by phasing out the peasants and the feudalists and creating a middle class and skilled working class society. It is a shame that we are still struggling with this economic metamorphosis 232 years from the time of the French Revolution in 1789, when, as already pointed out above, France already had a middle class and a working class, in addition to the oppressive feudalists and the poor and badly exploited peasants, the serfs. A lot of time was wasted, not only by the colonialists, the ignorant chiefs, but also by some of the post-colonial actors, politicians, cultural leaders, religious leaders, etc., that many times divert people's attention to wrong positions of superstition, sectarianism, miracle wealth, etc., etc. Mao Zedong in China struggled against these parasite groups. That is why China now is on the verge of becoming a first world country. China now is the second richest country in the world. If you go to 1949, when Mao Zedong came into government, it was very far. You can go and check. But the Chinese struggled against these parasite groups. Ever since 1986, if you leave out the other years of struggle, the NRM has been insisting on 4 stimuli to cause this socio-economic transformation. These are education for all. I spoke about that the other day on the inauguration here. Everybody joining the money economy away from the pre-capitalist practice of primitive self-sufficiency of Okore Chida Kionka. 3, private sector-led growth to attract actors that are already part of the money economy in big numbers. And 4, infrastructure development so as to facilitate the 3 efforts above, including lowering the cost of doing business in Uganda so as to enable our economic actors to make profit in their businesses, thereby making Uganda more competitive. This vision helped Uganda, as has been demonstrated again in this speech. However, much more could have been achieved and can be achieved if all the politicians of the NRM and the civil servants understand and push this effort in a united way. Many times we have had to swim against the current. We have been facing opposition from within the system. Yet, as Mwalimu Nyerere said, Africa needs to run while others walk if we are to catch up. Some parts of the world are on the verge of the 4th industrial revolution, while many parts of Africa have not entered even the 1st industrial revolution. The 4th industrial revolution is the phenomenon of intelligent machines that can replace man in the workplace, such as factories. China and India benefited from cheap labor and lured business to the east. That migration of factories and businesses in search of cheap labor forced the other societies to look for cheap labor that avoids expensive human beings that were demanding high wages using the trade unions at the labor movement. The answer is intelligent machines as a consequence of AI, artificial intelligence. This is what is being referred to as the 4th industrial revolution. The 1st industrial revolution was mechanization, was the use of steam power operating machines instead of the manually operated enyondo, the hammer. The 2nd industrial revolution was technological revolution, was the discovery of electricity to operate machines instead of steam power. The 3rd industrial revolution was automation. We are now entering the 4th industrial revolution of intelligent machines. Uganda and the NRM will not miss the bus of history again. That's what I'm here to appeal to you. Finally, security will be maintained in the whole country. Cattle rustling that has been showing resurgence in Karamoja will be defeated. We are expanding the brigades of 3rd Division and 1st Division. The criminality around Kampala was defeated and is being defeated. The only element to get rid of is the corruption and poor procedures within the police. NRM people were reporting intimidation and harassment by terrorists at the police posts. These good-for-nothing characters would tell them that there is no political desk. If you do not have a desk for terrorism in your police post, you will go home and somebody else will do the job. The recent shooting of General Katumba by the usual shallow actors, whom I called pigs the other day, you remember I called them pigs, showed the poor organization of the police. The cameras I put in place did their work. As you saw, the killers were running from one area to another area. Why didn't the camera center alert all the patrol cars and even the UAVs? UAVs are these unmanned air vehicles. We have them. They can follow you anywhere once they are deployed to chase and block these killers. No, these wonderful camera managers think that their gadgets are only for storing videos for forensic analysis as part of the post-mortem of the operation. Yes, the cameras are for forensic, but also for enduro alarm. That's what the cameras should do. You should be watching, and if something like this happens, you follow him on the camera because they are watching. They are there. So why don't they make enduro, make alarm? While the crime is going on? Because they are watching. They are just sitting in their command center there. They are watching. The criminals would then be on continuous viewing by all the camera centers if the policemen adopt my directives and rationality in the use of those cameras. So those cameras are there, but they are not fully used. But as you saw, they captured I told the police, you show the public what the criminals were doing. Now the criminals had covered their faces, but we shall sort that. When the other killings, I have heard some people saying, oh, the killing of Kajezi, the prosecutor, the killing of Kawesi, the killing of Chirumira, and the Muslim sheikhs. But by that time, we do not have cameras. All those killings, most of those killings, even in Chugundu, we do not have cameras. I actually introduced cameras because of that killing that was going on. You remember when I addressed Parliament and I outlined 12 steps. The cameras are just one of them. There are other measures. For instance, the gun which was used is already identified, which was used in the case of the Katumba attack. It is the same one which was used in the Chugundu case, Chugundu, the Major Chugundu. And those, a number of those, not all of them, were arrested, but they were released by the courts on bail. Why somebody who has killed people should be released on bail, I cannot understand. Bail for what? Huh? So His Lordship, the Chief Justice, is here. I will get time and we talk, but we can't really go on. Because you see, these people want to turn our army into a criminal army. Because if they go on arresting and release, next time they will just shoot them. These criminals, oh, he was running away, we killed him. You will not be there to tell the story. So we are going to sit down and really, I'm glad the cameras are working. The other systems are working also, but they are not fully used. The police is therefore directed to stop. These policemen abandoned using radios. I think this was under the regime of Kale. They abandoned using radio. They now use mobile phones. Hello, hello, hello. Now, mobile phone, you talk to only one person. Police don't work like that. Police work on a network. It's like a village where you make enduro, because when you make enduro, the whole village wakes up. The camera people should, when they are watching, they see something like that, they should shout and say, "Uyo, uyo, uyo, uyo." And then everybody should be hearing. You should be on the same network. Not looking for the DPC who is asleep. No, we don't need DPC. We just need the people on duty. Whether DPC is asleep or not, it's none of our business. The police post, the police station must always be open and on radio communication, and everybody should be communicating. Something happens here, the whole system knows. Henceforth, the police is directed, again, I had already directed them, but I repeat it, stop using mobile phones and go back to using radios that are open to all stations so that they can act promptly in emergencies like the one of General Katumba. In addition to the cameras, our security leaders have been working on my directive of installing the digital monitors. This was part of the 12 points, to have a digital monitor in every vehicle, every piki-piki, so that wherever you are, the command post can know. I know some people want to hide where they are going for some very simple reasons. But please, we have got very serious issues we are dealing with. You'll have to forgive us. After General Katumba and General Tumwene, we are the people working on that particular system. The one of digital monitors. And when you try to tamper with it, we see you. They have taken long to implement this plan. This will make it easy to know which piki-piki, which car, or which boat on the lake. We shall also introduce it on the lakes, on the boats, so that we know which boats are where on the lake. The country is secure. These people who were involved in the Katumba incident, I am sure we shall get them, because we already have good leads. We shall get them. And I'm following you also very, very closely. But this is different from the Kajezis, from the Kawesis, because at that time there were so many things which were not in place. Now we have some of the things in place. Not all, but it is much easier this time. The country is secure, is progressing, and corruption and disorientation will be defeated. Right Honorable Speaker, I have not yet appointed a Prime Minister, and therefore I am not able this time to present the legislative program. I will present it when the Prime Minister is appointed. It will be much easier for me to present the legislative program. So here, I just repeated the strategy of the NRM that will cause social transformation in Uganda and ensure security of our country. I thank you very much.
Item 7 on the order paper, adjournment.
Your Excellency, the President, let me take this opportunity to thank you for completing your constitutional obligation. Within our rules, we shall have time devoted to consider this address and have serious discussions about the matters you have raised. The address was done in a timely manner on the second sitting of the first meeting, and it is good that it has been presented before the budget is read on Thursday, 10th June 2021. We shall therefore be equipped with the necessary factors and gadgets to assess it and make contributions to it. The address has covered a number of programs and highlighted achievements of the government. It's important to note the date to date is that Parliament has not constituted the requisite committees since it has just commenced. For the record, in the past, before the new normal, after the address by the President, he would take a group photograph with all of us, members of Parliament, but now it is not possible. The other part of the ceremony used to be a cocktail reception hosted in honor of the members by the Speaker. I think this one will defer and pray hard that this thing goes away. Then we can do that one. That one will never go away. We will have it one way or the other. This will also not be possible for now. We pray for divine intervention and the working of our scientists so that in the near future the pandemic disappears and we are able to move normally with our lives. With this, once again, I thank you, Your Excellency, for the address, and honourable members for turning up in these numbers. But let me take this chance to record some apologies from our members and colleagues who are not able to be here. I received notification from the Honourable Connie Galewango. She lost an aunt, a close aunt, and she had to be there. Secondly, Your Excellency, we will record the apologies of the members from Karamoja sub-region. All of them left to be home with the people. The situation there does not seem to be going down, and it seems to be escalating. You had these discussions with them, Your Excellency. You might now need to move quicker and see how such situations there could be resolved. Some announcements, honourable members and staff. The budget will be read on the 10th. That means on Monday and Tuesday, we'll be taking samples for COVID at Parliament. Please prepare and do this so that we are safe and can be admitted for the budget speech on the 10th of June. Members should take note. After the anthems, the House will be adjourned to, I can say with certainty, 10th of June, but should we receive some documents from the President and others, we could sit earlier to handle some business that could be urgent before the budget. But proper notifications will be given to you if this should be the case. Otherwise, this House substantially would be adjourned to June 10th at 2 p.m. to receive the national budget. But as I said, there could be modifications. Just stay on the alert. We could sit to deal with the committees on appointments and deal with some motions that are vital in dealing with the issues of what the president will be doing with the vice president, with the prime minister, with some other proposals that will be asking Parliament to act on to facilitate the setting up of his government. House adjourned.
The anthems in reverse order.
Our sounds echo on the other side. Afro beats and Afro pop